Hi everyone, Franscois de Wet here. This is a prophetic video where I just want to cover some of the things that I promised to cover now in the new year. There are two major things that are going to happen very shortly in South Africa. I've been sort of putting off speaking about this. I've touched on it in some of the other videos. But they really are crucial things that everybody needs to know about. As there's going to be two things happening. One is, if you remember, I spoke about an assassination that's going to happen. And in the prophecy, the prophecy was almost like in an analogy. I spoke about a call, that call for war. And I spoke about the thing of the land, and wanting to take the land. And that is literally what's going to trigger the assassination that is going to take place of a political leader in South Africa. I've received more than one confirmation of this word, and I'm going to give you a little bit of just information around this assassination. This assassination is not going to be done by the whites in South Africa, even though many people are going to want to pin the blame on the whites. It is going to be, the word that I had was the wolves. In other words, the wolves outside of South Africa that are investors in South Africa and that see this leader as a threat to their investments in South Africa. So which means that this assassination is not going to be politically motivated. It is not going to be due to racial tension here in South Africa, which is the moment is at a peak. But it's going to be about money. It's all going to be about money. And it's going to be unjust, in other words, in the sense, because it's going to be guys that literally all they want to do is protect their investment. They're not doing it in the interest of South Africa. But what I had was that the money has already exchanged hands, the date has already been set, and there's no turning back from this one. And that as this leaders, I almost want to say, call to violence and call for land and all this reaches a fever pitch, it will lead to his destruction. Now, I don't know any more than that. Okay, even when it comes to who the leader is and that, I can't even say with 100% certainty, because the way I received the word was very much in a sort of picture language, and that what I also know is that somebody will betray him, somebody very, very close to him, in fact has already betrayed him and set up this assassination. There's a whole lot of things around this assassination. But now, as you can imagine, this will trigger major repercussions in war, and that in South Africa. And what I mean by war is uprisings and protests and all kinds of stuff. Because like I say, they're going to try and blame it on the whites in South Africa, and it's not going to be. And this specific political leader will be hailed as a hero, and that even by people outside South Africa, but won't be a hero. In fact, one of the things that God told me way back was that this leader will become a byword. A byword. In other words, that people will not even speak about in the future. And then the other thing that links with that is this is going to really stir the pot in South Africa as far as racial tension and that in South Africa is concerned. And then there's going to be a major increase in xenophobia again in this year. And the xenophobia is as the unemployment increases and the desperation increases, the xenophobia is going to increase, and the xenophobia is going to get out of hand. The government's going to try and curb it. They're going to try and do whatever they can to stop it. And we're going to see many of the migrants in South Africa, especially those from Africa, flee. And as they flee up into Africa, if you remember the vision that I had of the fire, as they went up into Africa, I saw civil wars break out, like tribal wars that broke out in Africa on a scale that is absolutely horrific. In all of this, there were the fires over here, fires that erupted over here in South Africa that led to this. In other words, that's what I saw. And it all had to do with these xenophobic attacks, the unemployment and that, because on the one side, protests that are going to become increasingly violent, and on the other side, venting their anger. But it's not going to be long, and the xenophobic anger is going to become directed at the ANC. And that's when things are really, really going to get rough in South Africa, because that's going to lead to the biggest uprising in South Africa by the blacks that we have ever witnessed. It will make what happened pre-1994 look like a walk in the park. There's going to be an incident that's going to happen in Johannesburg, really sort of in the central part is what I saw. In other words, when you look at central Johannesburg and Berea and some of those areas, what Hillbrow, and what's all those areas. And there's going to be a xenophobic attack that's going to happen in Johannesburg that is going to spill over into a racial attack, because it is actually racism. It's black on black racism that is basically going to be at the root of this, and tribalism. And it's going to spill over into attacks on the whites in the Johannesburg area. And that is going to be short-lived. My impression was that it's literally a day or two. And there's going to be an attempt for this to move over here to Tshwane and Pretoria area and that, but it's not going to be successful for two reasons. One is going to be the clampdown, and the other one is resistance from many of the blacks to not be part of this. Okay, so there's lots of things that people really need to hear. When one speaks about these things, the thing that you must always remember is it's a faction, it's a group. It is not the entire population. And anyhow, this the xenophobic attack that's going to spill over to the whites, and that is going to shake South Africa. It is going to shake the white people in South Africa and make them realize just how bad the situation is in South Africa. It will lead to South Africa, this whole xenophobic attack and everything, being declared a nation at war. And with South Africa, from the international community, a decree will be issued that will declare South Africa a nation at war. From that point on, everything will change. The way the crime is handled, the way that even riots are handled, everything like that is going to change dramatically and become much more effective. So this is not a bad thing. This is a good thing. Even though it will mean loss of life and that kind of thing, it will mean that things can be handled differently, and it will not be left in the hands of the ANC to sort out a lot of the problems with violence and uprising and all of that kind of thing. There's more that I will hopefully share at a stage in that, just so that you can be more, have a better understanding of the things. But anyhow, that's sort of in a nutshell what I just wanted to share today. And I don't want people to, become alarmed and that kind of thing. This incident is going to happen. Here's the pointer. Here's the thing to look for. That doesn't matter where you are in South Africa. God told me, follow the fires. Follow the fire. In other words, when you see buildings and stuff being burnt and cars and that, and they begin to destroy property and they begin to destroy clinics and hospitals, get out of the way. So when you see this in Johannesburg, when you see this, because it's going to be accompanied by the fire, it's going to be accompanied by the burning of things and burning of tires and all this kind of stuff, that's the warning sign. That's the amber light flashing. And when there's xenophobic attacks that begin to happen in the Johannesburg area, and that's the warning sign. That's the time to lock up, get out of the way. It's not going to be long, okay? And you'll be able to go back to your homes. South Africa will be at war, but it won't be like in Africa. It's going to be different. It's going to be a flare-up war. is going to become a very strategic war in South Africa, where it's not just going to be like randomly killing people and that kind of thing. It's going to be targeting the troublemakers, targeting people behind a whole lot of the things, and that the whole land grab and land invasion thing is going to suffer a major setback because of the war thing, because it will mean that people can defend their property, and they will defend their property. So a lot is going to change in South Africa in the next few years. I don't think it's going to be very long. I really do not think it's going to be very long. My personal impression, and that, but I can't like say to you, thus says the Lord, or anything like that, is we'll see the municipal elections. And if you remember, I spoke about these elections that are going to be very chaotic, with many constituencies not having clear winners, a lot of fighting. This specific election is going to be marred by tremendous violence and just total confusion. It's all I can call it, of trying to form alliances being broken. We're going into a season like that where on municipal level it is just really going to be chaotic, and which is going to lead to further decline of service delivery. That's inevitable. In other words, there's nothing we can do about it. The next election, national elections, and that I have the feeling that we're not going to have them, that they're actually going to be cancelled due to where we are going to be in South Africa at that moment. The good news is, if that election doesn't happen, then you know, okay, now it's not long and the tide will turn. Okay, that will be the indicator. It's just after that it's going to get quite hectic for a short little while. And I will be speaking about the governments that will come into power. There's going to be 2 different governments that are going to come into power, one bad one and one good one. And so we'll chat about that in the future. Hi everyone, Franscois de Wet here. This is a prophetic video where I just want to cover some of the things that I promised to cover now in the new year. There are 2 major things that are going to happen very shortly in South Africa. I've been sort of putting off speaking about this. I've touched on it in some of the other videos, but they really are crucial things that everybody needs to know about.